The access log said I badged into the building at 3:17 in the morning. At that exact time, I was asleep in the security office on the first floor. And when I checked the camera covering the lobby doors, it showed someone using my keycard to come inside. I used to work overnight security in a mid-sized office building downtown. It was the kind of place that felt busy and normal during the day, then strangely empty after 8 p.m. 10 floors, law firms on 3 of them, an accounting company on 5, and 2 vacant suites nobody had rented yet. My shift was from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. Most nights were quiet. I'd do rounds every hour, watch the camera wall, sign for the occasional cleaning crew, and make sure nobody came in after hours without authorization. The building used a badge access system for the front entrance, the parking garage, and each floor's glass security doors. Every entry was logged with a timestamp and employee name. If something happened, management always went to the access log first. That system was supposed to be reliable. That night had started normally. I did my first full round around midnight, checked the stairwells, made sure the side entrances were secure, and came back down a little after 1. Around 2, the cleaning crew finished on the upper floors and signed out. After that, it was just me in the building. Sometime after 3, I must have dozed off in the security office. I wasn't supposed to, obviously, but overnight shifts get to you. I had the monitor wall in front of me, the desk lamp on, and I remember leaning back for what I thought was maybe a minute. The next thing I knew, my radio was making that soft static pop it sometimes did when it shifted on my desk. I checked the clock. It was 3:24. I sat up, embarrassed, even though nobody had seen me, and started doing the usual thing, straightening up, checking the screens, making sure nothing had happened while I was asleep. Everything looked normal. No alarms, no open doors, no motion alerts. Then, I noticed the access log window on the left monitor. At 3:17 a.m., there was a new entry. Main lobby granted. M. Carter, 3:17 a.m. My name is Mark Carter. At first, I thought I was still waking up and was mistaken. I stared at the monitor for a few seconds, like the text might change on its own. Then, I checked my badge. It was clipped to my jacket, still on me. That part honestly made me more annoyed than scared. I assumed the system glitched. Maybe it had repeated my last entry from earlier in the night. But when I opened the full log, it didn't match anything else. My last actual badge use before that had been just after 1 a.m. when I came back in from checking the garage entrance. So, I pulled up the lobby camera. That was when my stomach dropped. At 3:17, the front doors opened. A person stepped in from the outside, paused at the reader just long enough to badge in, and entered the lobby. The camera angle was high and a little distorted, but the person was wearing the same dark security jacket I had on. Same build, same height more or less, head down, face impossible to see. Whoever it was moved like they knew the building. They didn't hesitate or look around. They came inside, turned left past the lobby seating area, and headed toward the hallway that led to the stairwell and elevators. Then, they disappeared out of frame. I replayed it 4 times. Each time, I noticed something else. The jacket looked like mine. The badge was used cleanly on the first try. The person didn't come from the street, exactly. They stepped into view from the darkness outside the glass. But not from the sidewalk angle most people approached from. More like they had been standing just out of sight by the wall. I told myself the obvious thing. Someone had copied my badge. It wasn't impossible. A couple of the old building tenants had complained before that the card readers were outdated. Maybe somebody had cloned it. Maybe an employee had borrowed my jacket from the office closet and thought it was funny. Stupid prank, but still human. Still explainable. So, I checked the other cameras. The hallway camera caught the same person walking toward the elevator bank. Head still down, no face visible. I switched to the elevator camera. Nothing. No one got on. I checked the stairwell camera by the south stairs. Nothing. North stairwell. Nothing. That didn't make sense. There were only so many ways forward from that hall. If they didn't go into the elevators, or either stairwell, they should have appeared on the camera by the rear corridor. They didn't. I left the office and checked the hallway in person. It was empty. Elevator parked on floor 1. Stairwell doors still closed. No sounds anywhere. That was the first point where I felt genuinely unsettled. Not because I thought it was supernatural. I didn't. But because it suggested there was a blind spot I didn't know about in a building I was supposed to know better than anyone else at night. I went back to the office and started checking older logs. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. I think I just wanted to prove the system had glitched before. Instead, I found something worse. 2 nights earlier, there was another entry under my name at 3:11 a.m. And the week before that, one at 3:19 a.m. All on nights I'd worked alone. All during the period between 3 and 3:30, when the building was empty and I was usually in the office finishing paperwork or watching cameras. I pulled archived footage from those dates. Same thing every time. Front doors open, a person in a dark jacket badges in, head down, similar build to me, walks left, disappears before the next camera catches them. I remember getting this cold, practical feeling that hit harder than panic. If someone had been doing this repeatedly, then either they knew the system better than I did, or they had access to parts of the building I didn't know existed. At about 4:10 a.m., I called my supervisor, Dennis. I felt stupid doing it because I really didn't have a clean explanation yet. I just told him there had been an unauthorized badge activity under my name and that I was reviewing the footage. He was irritated at first, mostly because I woke him up. But once I told him it happened multiple nights, he changed tone. He told me not to leave the security office and he'd drive in. While I waited, I kept digging. That's when I noticed one more thing. The person never used my badge to leave. There were no exit logs, no garage access, no stairwell re-entry. If they entered, they were still inside and using some route that bypassed the readers completely. Dennis got there a little before 5. I showed him everything. He watched the footage twice without saying much, then asked me one more question. "Were you asleep at 3:17? I told him yes. He just looked at me for a second and said, "Show me the office camera." I hadn't even thought to check it. There was a camera inside the security office itself, mounted over the door. It wasn't one we looked at often unless something went missing. At 3:17 a.m., the office camera showed me asleep in the chair. Then the door opened, and I walked in. Same jacket, same build, same head down. The version of me that entered the office paused just inside the doorway and looked toward the desk. Toward me. Then, the feed glitched for less than a second. When the image came back, the doorway was empty. Only one of me remained in the room, still asleep in the chair. Dennis didn't say anything after that for a long time. Neither did I. He ended up calling the building management company and filing it as a security breach tied to a badge duplication and camera failure. That was the official explanation. They brought in a contractor to inspect the readers and replaced the office camera a week later. They also changed my badge number and reissued every overnight access credential in the building. I quit 2 weeks after that. Not because of the footage by itself, but because of what Dennis told me before I left. He said he'd checked one more thing after I went home that morning. The old handwritten guard log from the company that had the contract before ours. 3 years earlier, a different overnight guard had made a note about an unauthorized access under his own name between 3 and 3:30 a.m. His note ended with one sentence. If the log says you came in, don't check the office camera alone. I still think there's probably a real explanation somewhere. A hidden timing error, a spliced recording, some kind of internal sabotage. But I've never been able to explain the part that bothers me the most. At 3:17, the office camera showed the door opening inward. I used that door myself every night. It only opened outward. Days later, I was having coffee with a colleague. She told me about an incident a friend of hers had working night shift security at a different building. That was even more unsettling.